Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for our budget review session. We'll turn it over to Chair of Ways and Means, Legislator Philip Fields.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Tonight we'll go back in our discussion and we'll begin in the area of the libraries where we left off last night.
Page 230.
All right. I know last year we had our library at closed and now it's open, functioning. Looking for people.
That is correct. We are looking for clerks. Sure, I can just introduce quickly the library. So again, as I mentioned in the presentation, we are budgeted 100% back to pre-pandemic levels at our library. We are having some problems with recruiting library clerks, just very similar to general labor recruitment problems that you're seeing everywhere in our economy. We're confident that we're slowly people bringing in. We have been bringing in people at a pretty good rate. This body this year added 3 positions already in 2021, so the ask for 2022 is another librarian 3. We did some merging of some clerks to get us another library 1, and then as you can see, the library director line, you'll notice it looks short, and then we have a new title, Director of Library Operations. Karen Bradley, after many years of service, has made it public that she's going to be retiring at the end of Library Week in April in 2022. So I'm sure this body will certainly want to celebrate her and her illustrious career here with the county and the library system. She's been invaluable in the transition over the years, and certainly as COVID hit and helping with her staff and COVID. So that's why those 2 revenue lines look a little odd.
Yes, Ms. Hotchkiss.
I know this is more likely in the capital budget, but the Niskuna library and the HVAC issues that we faced, is any of that planned?
Yeah, so the boiler has been delivered. We got lucky; it was not a special order, so meaning it didn't have to come from a very far away place. It's literally being installed. I believe it's this. Is it this week or next week? Yeah. It's literally being installed as we speak. So we will have heat this winter, and knock on wood, we should have air conditioning a year from now.
Okay. The next area of discussion is the historian, which is on page 234, and there's no changes there. Tourism begins on page 235, where we fund proctors and the monies that we give away, the Tourism Bureau. Any questions in that regard? We're continuing our commitment to them.
I mentioned this to a few legislators yesterday, but the Tourism Convention Bureau, of course, comes from our hotel bed sales tax or hotel bed levy. Obviously, this body had moved from 4% to 5% just prior to the pandemic. We were expecting good returns. It didn't happen because of the state of the economy. But this year, 3rd quarter, we actually had a record quarter, never been higher in the history of Schenectady County on that tax levy. So it really appears that we're back as far as our hotel bed tax levy income stream. So that's looking good.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Hughes.
Bill, could you please explain our continued support of proctors with the recent windfall they've had and a couple articles in the paper. I think that $200,000 could be used
Oh, Ms. Kinsey.
elsewhere in our tourism. If you can explain that, please.
Sure. So our commitment to proctors is actually codified. So it's actually to change that, this body would have to rewrite that law. Yes, they did receive a very large sum for not only proctors but all the other entertainment venues. It's an interesting thing because when proctors first hit the pandemic, they literally they let 90% of their staff go, like, immediately. It was kind of a terrible thing, bloodbath. We actually hired some of those folks in our contact tracing center, and since, had to let them go because we were just hiring temporary folks. But it is what it is. We're still in the state of emergency. They are slowly bringing shows back, but this, nobody just seems to know if they're going to be able to book those ticket sales or those kinds of things. So the jury is still out, and of course, it's the decision of this body.
And Proctor's also has fixed monthly cost. Even though they're closed, they still have operational costs that they must maintain with a skeleton crew. It's still very expensive.
Okay, thank you.
Just pick up on that for
Oh,
a second.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes. I appreciate how the support is structured, and that's fine. Proctor's itself does seem to be lagging a bit behind some of the other arts venues in terms of when they're reopening, shows they're bringing. Is there any way we can indicate to them that this body would kind of appreciate it if there was a way to move with some haste on that? It's
As you know, these
important
shows,
revenue generator in our downtown.
yeah, these shows, they book these things 9, 10, 11 months ahead of time. We're benefited by our Proctor's Theater being a training center. So even though they're not quote unquote doing shows at the moment, they are doing those trainings. So they're actually, the final stages of shows, having all the training with the building of the stage sets, and the training of the actors for song and dance. And then they go out and they travel across the country. So there is some activity happening. But as far as the schedule of shows, I certainly Discover Schenectady, Todd, members of this body, and Ms. Gatta is very closely dialed into those kind of things. It's certainly a worthy conversation.
And certainly the teching that goes on does produce some economic impact, and we do owe some credit to Discover Schenectady this year, because my understanding is they were quite successful in ensuring that the folks doing the teching are actually staying in our hotels as opposed to some other county's hotels. So
Right.
we do appreciate that, but it
Yeah.
just feels as if pace is a little slow.
I do know that Proctor's is starting its shows in December. So it's hopefully another 2 months or so, you should see some Christmas shows, holiday shows.
Can I ask a question on 400201 on page 236?
Yes.
So is that the lease buyback support is going to expire, or it's a zero and they're still an entity, and I'm just trying to make sure that we're...
I'm sorry, this is the SIP, County Initiative Program?
No, it's Empire State Aeroscience, 236, line item
Oh,
400201.
Right, that was back in, we don't have that same legal arrangement with Empire State Museum.
So that's
This
expired.
body, correct. This
Okay.
body, as a one-time one, decided to do that in 19 for budget year 20.
Yep. Okay.
thank you very much. We'll just move on to the next area of discussion. We'll pick up with economic development, which begins on page 239, and the agency that's related to economic development and planning for the county. And there's no really changes going on in that department,
That's a question.
except Mrs. Pratt. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a quick question regarding groundwater management as well as the household hazardous waste program. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. You know, we certainly took a break in hazardous household waste collections, but our very first collection, so we are getting one in this year. It'll be the first Saturday in December. We're very excited about it. It'll be out at Keller Avenue. And then we're anticipating to return to a schedule of household hazardous waste next year. And did you also ask about county soil and water?
Actually, the groundwater management program, I was wondering about the request there that was not granted.
Let's see.
We're back on 236.
This is page 241.
241. Apologize. My suspicion is that was just moved somewhere.
Sorry, we're all jockeying for the mic here. That was just a placeholder that was added by the economic development folks as a placeholder. It's not a requirement under the county requirements for groundwater management.
Can I just get further clarification though? What does that mean? Is
So-
it a program that we've supported in the past and that we've zeroed out, or?
No, I mean, we have a lot of like regulatory responsibilities for MS4 reporting, which Ray Gillen through economic development. It used to be something that we did in-house. We now, Ray's got a guy that does a wonderful job and there's full compliance every year with it. It's kind of a long report, you know, just groundwater safety. Obviously, we're above the Great Flats aquifer. It's very important to not only our county, but regionally. It's a great water supply. Ray will say it's, you know, we're the Saudi Arabia water around here. That's why, you know, we really need to be looking long-term with development and stuff. That was just a placeholder because at the time, I think there was some movement in like who was doing some of the contract stuff. Honestly, I'd have to fully, because I know that it was an economic development piece and then the MS4 reporting piece. But I can get you the full detail on that, Richard.
Mr. Manager, if I may.
Sure.
There's also some staffing resources in this budget account and the hourly rated wages that individual works on ground and stormwater management as well.
Right, that's why I feel like it was moved.
I think this may have been associated with a contractual study.
Okay.
Okay, our next area of discussion is the Human Rights Director of the Human Rights Commission. The Cooperative Extension is on page 245. And there's no changes there. Soil and Water is on page 248. And there's a slight marginal change there. Interesting story in this area, isn't it?
Yeah, so, you know, we have a couple board members here for County Soil and Water. You know, they go to these meetings every month. I shared a story with Chairman Phillip here last night. One of our problems in the area is, believe it or not, is beaver dams, right? And so when a beaver dam washes, we just had Wolf Hollow Road wash out, and Joe Landry and his crew had to go and redig culverts. You know, when these beavers come in, they build these dams, and then all of a sudden when it breaks, you know, thousands and thousands of gallons can wash away. And so Nick, down at Soil and Water, you know, progressively researched this and very high-tech stuff, but yet a low-tech solution. There's this device. It's about the size of a coffin. It's got a screen on the front and a screen on the back, and you put it in a place where a beaver might build dams. And beavers do this because they feel the sense of the water moving, and so that's where they choose to build these dams, and it's very interesting. So you put this device in to kind of modulate water flow, and it confuses the beavers. And so they go away, and so the beavers are not near where you want the water to rush. So we just did this on Reynolds Road, County Route 135, and because the side of the road keeps washing out. So when we do you know, the 67 miles of road maintenance, that could be like a quarter mile. Oh my God, we had to redo this road because we keep getting these washouts. The name of this like long coffin safe box is called a beaver deceiver because it tricks the beaver. It's a very interesting thing.
I'm fascinated.
If I can add to that for a minute, Nick shared the photos with Sarah and I. It was really, I mean, so simple.
Yeah.
But it made perfect sense.
Yeah, and we haven't had a washout since they've
That's great.
placed it in there, so.
That was
Mr.
good.
Chairman, I'm gonna offer that up as our Innovation of the Year award for budget review here. The gold star for additional revenue goes to the county clerk, but the Innovator of the Year award is so totally, definitely.
We did bump up a
Soil
little bit
and
of our
water.
contribution to soil and water by about 20,000, not because of that, but
How much do these beaver deceivers cost, and do we have enough of them?
I don't believe we do. That's okay, we're working on it.
Well,
Gary-
I mean,
Gary,
if we need to appropriate some funds for beaver deceivers, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Gary, just to add to that, he's more than an innovator. He's really quite the guy, very creative. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
been a
hear
good find.
extraordinarily good things.
Yes.
I do.
I feel like the beaver should have a voice here. I'm sorry.
Very good.
Deceive them every chance you get.
We should do it here. Professional services in the bulk recycling program. We just had a little small professional service change. Natural resources, and pages 280, 256. That's the same as the previous year. And then the employee benefits, which is on 258. And also the debt service that we pay for our bonds. As the chairman mentioned, our state retirement contribution is going down. As Mr. Fuhrman had mentioned on page 259. Now from here afterwards, we have, let's see, 264 relates to the bonds, and then from here, starting on page 266 and on, is the revenue side of our budget. So it's into 3 different categories: the general fund revenue and some special funds and the federal funds.
Mr. Chair, can we just real quick on debt? So constitutional debt limit, 1261, the cap is, the top line is 15? Is that how far we can go?
Right, best practice, staying within wanting to keep our high bond rates. We're always trying to strive for that 15%. We were just talking about this earlier, 12.6?
12.6 presently,
6.
as of
Yeah.
today,
Now,
October 6th. So
sorry.
at some point, when the legislature meets in the December meeting, we'll revise the 2022 assessed value. I can tell you tentatively that's going up by roughly $500 million from 10.6 billion to 11.2 billion. So you're adding that additional assessed value. The last year's assessed value will fall off, coupled with the fact that we will also be paying down principal over the course of 2022. So all else being equal, the number that you see in that chart reflects the recent issuance of the $23.8 million associated with 797 and 388. All else being equal, without any additional debt issuance, you'll see that percentage of debt limit actually decrease.
Decrease.
Yes.
Because housing values and business values have gone up so much,
Yeah.
that percentage naturally falls because how much we've borrowed in the past hasn't changed. But it's put against how much everything is worth in the county.
Okay. When will the C fund paper pay off? What's the maturity on the Glendale?
On the Glendale side, we're, all else in consideration, that's a relatively young note.
Yep.
I think it's a 30-year note, and I think we're maybe in year 5 or 6.
Okay.
There's roughly still $48 million on outstanding debt associated with that. There's a handy pie graph chart in there that sort of shows you the distribution of debt across all funds.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Can I ask Mr. Chairman, just a question? At some point, and it doesn't necessarily need to be before we formally adopt this in December, would this budget reflect the additional American Rescue Fund dollars that we have been promised, or will
Sure,
that be
so-
shown in some other fund somewhere else?
At the moment, it doesn't, and that's because we're just still waiting on federal guidance for specifically how to chart it as a revenue. But the plan is to by year end. Our third report that we're filing is due, just got moved from October to January, literally just last week. And so just kind of how, like back in May, we weren't fully sure on how we could use it. Here we are, October, and we're still not 100% sure how we're supposed to chart it in our books. So we received it. It's in our accounts, and we will be accounting for it by the end of the year.
Just, it's a lot of money, and it feels like it should be in some document, and it's probably this one.
Understood.
Thank you.
So are there any additional questions, roughly on the revenue side?
Page 269, line alpha 2385. We get dollars out of a baby cafe?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
I didn't know what the revenue source, what is the revenue
It's just a
stream?
grant. It's a grant to promote,
Oh, I see. I'm sorry, it's a grant. I thought we were getting revenue from something. Okay. A grant's revenue for us. Got it.
right? That's our lactation and promotion of community breastfeeding.
Ms. McDonald?
A little under 104 million,
Correct, that's that 1038 number.
266.
Yep.
Yep.
So in '21, we budgeted 95,
That is correct.
and we're anticipating we're gonna collect more than that.
That is correct.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Hughes.
A2380, which is the SUNY Schenectady parking fee. If I'm reading the budget correctly, we are now actually not collecting the fee that we used to collect that the college didn't collect from the students. Is that correct?
There's a history there on that fee.
I'm not the historian of this body, but I know some of its history.
Legislature Hughes, 2020 was the last year of the agreement for the parking fee relationship.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, 2021 was. My years are mixed up. Apologies.
Okay, it's all COVID. It's just COVID.
We get to keep the fee now, Gary? Is that?
We're having a cross conversation
Nope.
here?
Nope.
I mean, it's okay, but.
That was a question I had last night about the college on the subsidies of tuition. Are we positive on that?
Yeah, I mean, so they received some large chunks of American Rescue Funds and CARES funds as well. A lot of those monies were really geared towards student services, so notebooks, laptops, books, those kinds of things for the students themselves. Unfortunately, they weren't able to be used towards salaries, fixing buildings, those kinds of things.
What about the out-of-county, in-county? I think I was,
Yeah, I mean, those rates go up. The chargebacks go up every year. They really do.
are we positive on those, or?
No, I mean, they're more expensive. We jumped up.
Oh, last night we looked at that, it's 2 point something.
Depends
more.
on which community college you're referencing. Our
Right.
Schenectady County Community College,
we have
they
more out
maintained a
than-
flat,
We have more out than in, or more in than out?
If you go back to the page that has education on it, which the chairman might be able to find quicker than I can anyway, the chargebacks are listed there, I think. And they are almost comparable, I think, to what we contribute to our own college. But I'm not 100% sure of that, so.
It is listed there.
Yeah, that continues to be an issue. What page was that on? Education. It's partly driven by enrollment. There's a formula. And SUNY changes the formula from year to year, but it hasn't been
beginning on
helping.
page 80.
80, thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
McPhillips, thank you.
And each college is different. You know, Fashion Institute of Technology down in New York City is we have one student
Oh,
from
Fashion
Schenectady
Institute
County
is
go there.
terrible.
We're gonna know, because when we get that bill, it's significant.
Fashion Institute is wicked expensive. Yeah, if I'm looking correctly, it's A 2490, 3.4 million in chargebacks. That's on page 80.
I have a question on 266 about the pilots, $3 million. Do we know how many properties that is, that encompasses?
I don't know offhand, but I can certainly get you the actual number of properties for that.
Are some going to expire in the near future,
Yes.
the back of the tax
We-
roll?
We do periodically update to make sure that those pilots expiring are reflected in the budget. New pilots do come on. Certain pilots have either an increasing or decreasing pilot depending on the number of years of the pilot agreement. I don't know offhand the number of properties, but I can certainly get that information to you.
Thanks.
And for what it's worth, Metroplex kind of keeps a reporting structure of pilots on their website.
And there is a relationship between the pilot revenue that we record in the budget vis-a-vis the property tax cap calculation. Pilots get incorporated into that calculation, so there's an interrelationship.
Any other questions on capital? I'm sorry, in the operating revenue side? We would jump at this present moment to the thin books, which is the capital improvement book. And just to note that there are pages that we can look at here, and we'll just start running through the pages that we approved, okay? So we'll go in order. It starts on page 10, which is the courthouse.
We've got some columns in the courthouse that are twisting. It's gotta be fixed.
Okay, page 11, again, is some more exterior expenses there in the courthouse. For columns again. Page 12, improvements to the library.
That R222 refrigerant is legal in second and third world countries. It's gotta go. It's not a standard since 2007 in this country. And as you'll see in all these HVAC replacements, they all have the R22.
Okay. So that's 12 and 13, and 14 is the Florida Rotterdam Library.
Replacing some carpeting and some entryway flooring. First time replacement since the build of the library itself.
Page 15 we discussed, which was at the jail 2 nights ago. Page 16 is the dock area.
It's the back dock where we all enter and exit. It's got some hazardous things about it, so we've got to fix it. We did have some money in previous years to fix. It ended up going into the generator. The generator is associated with the old MRD system, so potentially in this project we might be able to get rid of that generator because we do have another newer, brand new generator on the side of the building, so we might be able to transform the back dock. Yeah, pull out the noisy old generator, hopefully.
Page 17 is 797.
Yeah, an 8-ton HVA system, so a crane has to take it from the truck and put it on top of the roof.
Page 18 is improvements at the library to do some more lighting fixtures.
Yeah, decreasing our carbon footprint, making sure we have LED.
Page 19 we discussed 2 nights yesterday with the county clerk, expansion of DMV. Page 20 is dealing with the construction of Elston Hall.
This is phase 2 of the Student Services Center. Just like with the Begley Learning Commons, they tried to pair library, tutoring, study space. They would like to kind of replicate that and do it again for all services for students. Admission, financial aid, any kind of counseling, bursar, all of those things. It's very disparate, and it's an older building, so it's hard to necessarily find these things, even though there's good signage. So the longer term plan is to try and consolidate those places in location in the building.
Page 23 is the more community college improvements in relation to the carpeting at the Stockade building. Page 22, as I say 23, 21 to 22 is the Stockade mechanical upgrades taking place there for the boilers and the pumps and so forth. Page 23 is the master plan.
Their last master plan initiated in 2017, so it is, quote, out of date. There's certainly some decisions to be made, you know, at the college itself, as far as spacing and buildings and those kind of things. Their previous master plan has been a wonderful guide and list of suggestions for capital projects, not necessarily an exact document of what we need to do, but certainly a menu of good things that probably should happen. And of course, we always have to lend towards the safety side. For next year, we're probably going to have to deal with the facade, because some of the facade again is coming off the front of the building. You'll notice the netting up 8 or 9 stories high.
Page 24, again relates to the fire alarm system at the campus. Relates to emergency phone replacement for at various parts of the campus. 26 relates to the new kitchen that we have there. We're doing some replacement for at the rooftop as it relates to the air. It's always good to see that all these projects that we're doing for the community college is 50% funded by the state and 50% funded by the host, which is the county. Again, page 27, we're having campus-wide wireless access points. Page 28, some improvements for technology update at the various lecture halls and classrooms. Page 29 is the county highway improvement system, where actually this is just looking at paving and repaving and reconstruction, normal things we do every year. So it's one of the biggest parts of our expenses. Make sure our county roads are good. And then page 30 is looking to deal with a tank replacement.
Yeah, we started to fund this last year, and they realized that we had to come back for more appropriation for more money. It's just a not appropriate tank in the ground. It's starting to leak. It's got to come up. It's got to go. It's got to be replaced. No, because it's still sound. You know what I'm saying? Leaking. It's not gushing, but you know, drip kind of thing. So it's still within safe parameters for DEC.
Page 31 is looking at some prefab materials as we look to expand the building for storage and documents.
Yeah, so this,
Discussed last night?
yeah, this is a little bit what we discussed last night. We're just in need of a space to store our equipment. Our sign shop is in a very old building, so we're looking to move the sign shop there. We might be potentially moving weights and measures there. The sheriff's substation, they just need more space for their accreditation requirements. So we just have these emerging space needs for our departments with large pieces of equipment. And again, the highway garage is losing, they're losing a bay. When I say a bay, that's 2 large trucks that park that will be displaced.
Page 32 relates to the aviation, this section. So we'll have a taxiway, as was discussed at your presentation, taxiway EFK construction. These things have exceeded their life expectancy.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. The FAA, the National Guard, is basically paying for this. Very small state, very small county contribution. We did the runways in 2022. We're going to do the taxiways.
Page 33 again is related to these type of expansion, taxiway improvements. Page 34 is just dealing with, again, runway obstruction removal. Small improvement there for $300,000.
A lot of that one is just requirements from the FAA as far as growth of trees, growth of any kind of obstruction anywhere near the airport itself. Every once in a while, you got to go through and figure out what you need to cut down.
Page 35 relates to the storage shelter that relates with sand. So that's
Yeah, our current sand storage is not appropriate. It's the back of a truck that gets pulled into a garage.
Page 36, which we discussed, actually quite a few items here, 36, 37, and 38 was discussed in relation to the sheriff
Mr.
for the
Chairman,
new substation
back-
and the jail
back up to
improvements.
36. How much room do we have back there?
At Keller Ave,
No, at the substation.
we have quite a bit of space because the land goes
Yeah,
almost all the way
almost to the highway,
Oh,
right?
sure. And we've done some preliminary work with just gravel, just kind of siting, and we have the design ready to
We
go.
already have weights and measures there. Maybe we should just expand that and keep them there. If we have the space, or if we have the land.
Some of it has to do with, so the sheriff's substation's trying to become accredited, and so there's all like these strange like space requirements that they have, and some of that has to do with, you know, when we used to arrest somebody and hold somebody, there are all these standards for holding, and so we're starting to have that availability to do that out there now, but they kind of truly need more space to accomplish that.
The director said he'd be happy if you just got him an Amish shed. He doesn't want to go back to Keller Avenue.
Understood. Understood.
So page 40 is where we are now, relating to the district attorney and looking at additional surveillance cameras and just upgrading the cameras that exist at the present moment. Page 4-1 looks at the replacements of certain, doing inventory for the desktop. Page 42 is, again, server
And
replacements.
it's a small number. Do we replace some computers every year, or do we just?
Every year, yeah, at least 60.
Little
At least
schedule and just,
60.
yeah,
Yep.
thank you. I would assume that's smarter than wait until they all wear out.
Page 43 is looking at again, the county office building, doing some cameras replacement there for outdated equipment. Page 44 is the same for the library, in relation to their cameras. More storage space on page 45. More switch improvements on page 46. More internet cloud space on page 47. And then this multi-factor authentication, whatever that is. I didn't know what that is.
Third-party authentication, I just had to do it when I checked my kid's 529 plan just today.
That's the guy down the road here, right? Those little fobs.
Yeah, you can either have a fob or you can have an app on your phone. It'll be our employee's choice.
Very
The
nice.
app is cheaper, but,
Page 49, again, looks at record retention and just dealing with that particular area, getting boxes, small cost here.
the county clerk was being kind. This is something that I actually asked her to take on, frankly, because the records retention was held in computer services in this county. And she not only willingly took it on, but just ran with it. And
It's all part of the explanation she gave the other day. We kind of spoke about this in a sense, but it's all part of page 50, relates to the sheriff, so that was part of that discussion we had 2 days ago. Page 51, certificate of residency application software. More
How is that
surveillance.
different? And is that like a better service thing?
yeah, so you'll be able to do it from home, so that you're
Oh,
not
that's
gonna
so
have to.
nice. We won't have to
then-
send people running around in the building to get there.
Correct,
That's really excellent.
yeah.
Best $18,000 we ever spent.
Page 52, we discussed when the sheriff is here, and everything else, pretty much 52, 53, 54, 55, are all relatively discussed 2 days ago. It keeps going. So I think the rest of this has been under the discussion. We can jump to page 61.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
no question, just a comment. I just wanted to say I'm really excited that we'll be adding the first 2 zero-emission EVs to our county fleet. I met with our sustainability coordinator earlier today, and just really excited about the direction that we're moving in there. So just wanted to commend you on that, and hopefully we can keep moving in that direction when appropriate.
Thank you very much. So page 61 is just the normal fleet replacement that we normally do every year in the county, with the number of vehicles that we purchase, and some we send off to other various parts of the agencies. And 52 is again just refurbishing. 63, I'm sorry, is a dump truck that we're actually going to replace.
And last year, we put off a dump truck purchase. We refurbished last year instead of actually purchasing, so.
And that's the same for 64, another dump truck. And now 65, we're actually working with the utility tractor and the side mowers. That's gonna be replaced. We're gonna replace a forklift on page 66. A Bobcat skid steer loader. Page 67. We're also gonna replace a batwing brush mowing attachment. Page 68. Is this for real bats or?
Oh, no, no. No, the,
No, but occasionally in the mowing process, you stir some bats up.
alongside the taxiway and runways, it's just a very large apparatus so that you can just drive alongside the, road and get a 22-foot grooming surface area.
Occasionally you get a woodchuck too.
And a beaver. So we have I want to thank you all for joining us here this evening and spending a few days going over the budget. And again, we thank the staff for their dedication and hard work. And with that, we will adjourn the budget discussion and we'll resume next week for a public hearing, which is on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And then on, I believe, Wednesday is another legislative day.
And this is a committee, so it doesn't require a motion to adjourn, right?
This particular session?
Yeah, doesn't,
I don't think it does.
I don't think it
Not
does
an
either.
official session.
We can just get up and leave.
You can actually depart your merry way.